Good evening to you all. Let me first welcome you all to Coffee Pe Charcha of TiE Kerala. Now, this is a program we have every 2 months where we call, a very experienced entrepreneur or a professional to come and speak to you about their experiences. So we have with us Geemon Korah. I don't have to introduce Geemon Korah to you. MSA will be doing that. Let me just give a brief introduction of our moderator, who, MSA Kumar. MSA Kumar, past President TiE Kerala. He's also Chief Catalyst 360. Graduated in Agricultural Sciences from College of Agriculture, Trivandrum. Kumar took his MBA from the prestigious Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. He served 20 years with AVT Group. Kumar has been the Managing Director of AVT Natural Products Limited and AVT McCormick Ingredients Private Limited. MSA brings over 40 years of rich experience in leadership and across frontlines, sales, product, profit center management. He is a recipient of several awards, accomplishments, including the Management Leadership Award of 2015, highest honor conferred to an individual management leader for his or her outstanding contribution in the field of management and industrial development in the state of Kerala. More importantly, MSA is a very integral part of TiE Kerala. He was our president for 2 years, and one of the biggest contributions to TiE Kerala was he was able to conduct 3 mega events in a period of 45 days. So I have been in total awe of his management skills, and how he was able to do that is he was in Singapore the entire time, but all the teams at 6 o'clock in the morning, we will get a list of to-do things, and he's a fabulous delegator, I have to say. And 3 mega events in a period of 45 days where, the turnout of the audience turnout was more than 2,500 people. So that is Mr. MSA's capabilities. Over to you.
Really, Anisha, that's a handful, and I'm really humbled. Coffee Pe Charcha is, as Anisha mentioned, it's a forum for interaction. So we will be talking less, and we will definitely allow you to ask more questions to G. So first, let me invite him to sit here formally. Big hand of applause to G before. Yeah, I think nice having you, G, here. And I was just looking at the audience, given the background that the person who is sharing his experience as well as me anchoring, we are both from the spice crowd. So there are a lot of spicy guys sitting in the audience. I can easily make it out. And I hope the discussions also will be quite spicy. Let's hope so. Anyway, just a quick introduction to Geemon. I know him from 95 when I entered the spice industry from pesticides. So I think he was 95 means almost 30 years, right? So, 27 years.
He was in school.
He had joined Kancor, definitely. That time you were not married. No, okay. Not that it makes a difference, but definitely we should know the background. It makes a difference. So since he told it makes a difference, let me also first introduce the first lady who has been behind him and, supporting him all well. Rachel, would you mind standing up? Please give a big round of applause to her. And as we say that behind every successful man, professional leader, there is always a lady. So I thought I should definitely introduce. Having said this, it's very difficult to read out G's profile, but I'll quickly tell when I read something which was standing out about Geemon Korah is kind of networking positions he has held. He's also currently the chairman of CII Kerala. And then I knew that he's involved in many networking associations, like he was the chairman of the All India Spice Exporters Forum. And when I went through the LinkedIn profile, I was wondering, what is this guy doing? Does he work for Kancor at all? Because he is International Federation of Essential Oils and Aroma, of course, Confederation of Indian Industries, Flavors and Fragrance Association of India, and the list goes on. I don't want to bore. But one thing I understand from when you look at a CEO's profile, person who is invited to lead industry association should have a mature shoulders. I can tell this with confidence because I also was holding the same positions. You understand? Okay. Anyway, so basically, I think quickly getting on, I think he's an agriculture graduate from Annamalai University and also has done his PhD. That shows how much Rachel is supporting him. Your PhD was when? Just last year. He did a PhD in agricultural economics. I think you took black pepper as the thing in terms of forecasting model, which is next to impossible. Because we always say the black pepper price forecasting is something like a mad dog. It suddenly runs that side and then comes back this side. So, but I think Dr. Geemon Korah, I should call him that, though we are used to calling him G. So he did his PhD in agricultural economics from Annamalai University, and more importantly, he also did from the famous Institute of Rural Management, IRMA, Indian Institute of Rural Management Anand, Institute of Rural Management Anand, where there are big guns who have passed out from there, and he passed out in 93, correct? So after that, another thing which I thought when I saw this, I mean, in these days, when people change jobs, especially we can see quite a bit of youngsters here who switch jobs quite often. I think he is completing 3 decades of service at Kancor. I think for that, give him a big round of applause. And I know I have met him, earlier owner of Kancor was a good friend of mine, still a good friend of mine, Sanjay Mariwala. So I have been to their office and I have seen him as a young boy at that time. I mean, if I can say now, of course, he is heading, now, Kancor has been taken over by man from France and, a lot of things. Anyway, I won't extend this story too long. Let's hear, and as I told you, we will have interactive session. So maybe we'll have little to hear from Geemon about his journey as an individual, his journey as a professional, his journey as a leader, all that. I mean, individual also. So definitely be open. I think since Rachel is sitting here, you don't have to hide anything. So you can just be as open as you want. So over to G to listen to his journey, his story so far, and then we will enter into the interactive session.
Thank you, MSA, and that introduction actually was a little humbling. So thank you for that. I often wonder why I am in Kerala, because I didn't have, the first part of my life was outside of Kerala. I am from Chennai. So all my schooling, my graduation from Annamalai, I had no inkling that I would end up in Kerala. But then fate intervened. So at IRMA we had a campus placement, and five of us from here and from IRMA and 5 from TiS at that point of Tata Institute of Social Sciences. We ended up working for Kerala Horticulture Development Program. It was a European project with the Kerala government, very prestigious project at that point of time. 175 crores given for vegetable and fruits cultivation in Kerala. So ended up here, and 1 year into the job, it was, you come here with this young, I would say this enthusiasm to change the world, to make a difference, and you're coming from IRMA where, it's a capital of cooperative bodies where Amul literally started, and you have worked with farmers, you have been in the field, and then you come here assuming that you're going to make a difference here with the farmers, with fruit and vegetable cultivation. 1 year down the line, completely disillusioned, quit the job. All of us actually, almost 8 of us, we quit this job and going back to Chennai. And for many of you here, you have to understand that the reason I'm here is purely destiny. It was not planned. Nothing was written that I would be in Kerala, I would be in Cochin, or I would be in Kancor, nothing like that. So I'm boarding the train to Chennai. Chennai mail from Trivandrum leaves at 1:30 p.m. 1:30 or 2:30 at that point, I don't remember. And it passes through Ernakulam Junction. At 6:30, it touches Ernakulam Junction, and it leaves at 6:45 or 7 o'clock. Those days there was no mobile phone, so I go to the land phone there, and from the telephone booth I make a call to a friend of mine in Cochin saying that I'm heading back to Chennai and I'm done with Kerala. I don't ever want to come and work in Kerala again. When you come for holidays to Kerala, it's beautiful. My parents are from Kerala, okay, so you come for every vacation here. Oh my goodness, what a beautiful, fantastic place. It is like, the devil taking you to hell for the initial introduction, and then you later figure out what actually hell is. That's what happened to us when we were young and working for the government. So I call him up, I tell him, Abhijit, I'm leaving to Chennai. So Abhijit says, the train goes through Ernakulam. Why don't you get off at Ernakulam and I will book a ticket for you the next day. So you leave the next day, but I would like to meet you. I said, yeah, sure. And Abhijit was my senior at IRMA, a 3-year senior to IRMA, and he was working at Kancor. So I get off the train, he picks me up from the train station. We have a good dinner, we tell stories, we crash at his place. Next day morning, we go to his office. It's a Saturday, I remember it very well. It's a Saturday and the office was beautiful. Office is by the backwaters at Matancheri. So you have the office, on the other side you have beautiful ships sailing by and all that, and so Abhijit is sitting in his office and he invites me there. I sit there with him and he says, there are a few of my friends here also are here. Saturdays we usually go to Kaikas for biryani. Let's go to Kaikas for biryani and let's chat. So these friends of his, they were also, they were senior vice president of Kancor and all that, and as we got talking, they said, Geemon, you're going to Chennai anyway. You don't have a job with you. We would like to offer you a job. Would you like to stay? I said, no, thanks. I'm done with Kerala. I just mentioned to Abhijit, I'm done with Kerala. I don't want to be here. And then the conversation went on and, these are senior people. After about half an hour, they said, Geemon, think again. If we offer you a job, would you like to take it? Now, these are senior people and it would be rather, offensive to tell point blank to them again and again. I said, look, it's very difficult for me. Even if I join you, I will not stay here. I will leave the job in 6 months' time. You will be disappointed. You know what they said? We are willing to take the chance with you for 1 year. You join us, in 1 year if you don't like the job, you can leave. 30 years now. I haven't left.
Amazing story, Geemon. And can you quickly tell about that 1 year stint? Normally, you are a investor in startups. You also advise the startup guys not to, feel let down by one episode and continue, the resilience factor, so on and so forth. But that 1 year, I know you would have been very young at that age. Why did you suddenly, it was a good project. We have heard about it. This European Commission, correct? Vegetable growing and all that, very interesting. Just throw a few points on that. What made you to sort of hate so much of the job and hate so much of our own God's own country,
Okay. So, MSA, that's a question actually I have. When I was passing through that 1 year phase, I've asked this question so many times with my friends, and there are evenings that I've actually sat and prayed. I've gone to church, I've gone to temples, saying, why God have you actually put me through this? It was that difficult because the program director, I won't take names here, program director assigned from IPS, he was heading the program, and he brought in a whole set of his cronies as other directors, training directors, finance directors, and there was so much happening there. The fact is, they didn't want the program to proceed further. They want to delay it as much as possible. So you had these 10 youngsters coming with this idealistic mindset of making the change happen, and they were extremely upset with us that we were actually moving things forward. They actually wanted to slow it down, and literally, it was a 5-year program. They wanted it to stretch it to 10 years. So they could actually enjoy being on deputation here and earn the money and everything. But that indirectly affected us, that literally they would make you feel so little, so small. They will try to break your self-confidence, your self-esteem. And that's when you drew the line. You said, this is not what I signed up for. And it's not just me. We were almost 10 of us who actually quit at the same time. And it was so painful that is an experience, it has actually left a scar, that I decided that if and ever things come to pass, I will never let an youngster go through that kind of an experience ever again. Most importantly, now when I look back, I asked this question to God at that point of time. Why, God, have you put me through this? But now I know the answer to that. Because after that, whatever life threw at me, I was able to handle it. And today I can happily say that that was the most amazing 1 year of my life that actually turned me around to who I became later.
Really?
I didn't know it at that point of time. That is how life changes.
I think it's really interesting. I think two learnings from this, which I take personally, G, is one is that, okay, you are put through a tough situation, and that itself becomes a big learning. Independent, irrespective of the age we are going through, you are a youngster at that time. And second thing, okay, this is a bureaucratic setup. Though you told IPS, now I know who it was, but we all know who it was. But anyway, that's immaterial. But what came out there is that when we have our own startups. The leader calls the shots. If the leader is showing nepotism or favoritism, the organization never will take off. So these are the two key learnings. One is the person who has gone through that and the organization. Both had its key learnings in terms of going through that. Quickly, coming back to 30 years stint at Kancor ji, I know when I came to this industry, this so-called spicy industry way back in 95. And the I think one of the very decent gentlemen from the spicy industry I had met at that time was his ex-boss, Sanjay Mariwala. You know, others were all very tight-lipped, and here is MSA Kumar who has come and taken over AVT Mecomic and AVT Natural. They speak to me well, but Sanjay was one person who was so... Sanjay at that time used to tell me, MSA, and many of you would not have been knowing this, Kancor those days used to advertise Kerala, Cochin as a location, not even the job. I remember in Hindu and advertisements that Kancor is... So he was, of course, not because of that you got selected that one Saturday, you were competent and qualified, but the issue there was that he was not able to get people. Am I right? I mean...
Absolutely right. In fact, the marketing agency was Ma Bozil at that time. And it was a full page ad in newspaper, yes. And in India Today, if I remember, the center spread, which said that how would you... They were not actually asking for professionals to come. They were saying, how would you like to have a view out to the backwaters where you can actually see the ships and your wife can walk into the spice-filled streets of Mattancherry. This was how the advertisement went.
Absolutely.
And this was how it was positioned, and it was actually rated as one of the best ads ever until that time. And that really attracted professionals from outside of India. In fact, our vice president was from Pune, operations Mr. Sunil Bhaskaran. Venkatayar came from Bombay. Abhijit came from, he was with Amul at that point of time. So all the top people, Ramesh Krishnamurthy was from Hyderabad, from pharma industry. So all the top professionals were actually from outside of India. And this ad is what got them here. And all of them stayed on for like 7 years, 10 years before they moved on.
Don't you think another story, like we always sometimes crib sitting in, even including me, we are not able to attract talent. Correct? So if Sanjay Mariwala and Kancor could do it way back in 94, 95, if I remember correctly, why not us? Now today Cochin is a far better place, I mean, in terms of the infrastructure and whatever we do here. So definitely there is another key learning coming up that, look, if you want to do something, you can get it done through different means. I mean, this advertisement caught my eyes, and Sanjay being my friend, I asked him, yaar, kya kar raha hai abhi? I mean, you got some contract with the state government to propagate Cochin as a location or something like that. So anyway, so basically Kancor, as you know, was the first company to start spice extraction in India itself. I mean, yeah. After that, many other people joined, including my ex-employers, AVT. So Kancor has gone through that kind of milestones in terms of being family-driven, and then, of course, as he rightly mentioned, Sanjay saw the writing on the wall that he can't do everything himself and brought in lots of professionalization. And then, of course, 7-8 years back was Man Century, or yeah, around that. And I still remember Sanjay talking. Sanjay says that, look, there's no point in being emotionally attached to your business, though you have set up the company, you have grown the business, you have seen like your own child. but don't get ever emotionally attached, and he sold off to a French conglomerate called MAN. So can you quickly take us through the experiences of different cultures, different stages of Cancor's evolution, if you can call that, from a family business, now 100% owned by MAN, and he must be feeling, I can't say feeling the heat, feeling the goodness of working for a French multinational. Just take us through that journey. We'll have a lot of learnings from that as well, G.
Well, when I first joined the company, it was a small company. First, we were about 17 crores, 15, 16 crores in business. It was the first company also to actually have a foreign equity in this industry.
Yeah, core.
With McCormick. The name itself, Cancor, you know, for many who don't know, Can stands for Kanji Murarji, who started the business in 1857, and COR comes from McCormick. That's how the name Cancor actually was coined in 1989. Yeah. Before that, it was still part of Bombay Oil Industries, before the Mariwala family split the businesses into various, with various cousins. So at that point of time when I joined, it was still a very small company. We had just one division. Okay, I'll just quickly switch back to the question that you asked. You know, these days it's very rare to see people staying in a job for a long time, 30 years. And when you actually analyze why people actually leave their jobs, is two things. One is your personal aspirations don't actually, it usually grows faster than the organization's aspirations. And therefore you are not in a position to always match your personal aspirations from the organization you are, and which is why you see people switching jobs. Aspirations mean not just money, but also in terms of opportunities and challenges. So when you look at it that way, the reason I stuck on is, while it was a family-owned small company, there was a lot of professionalism at Cancor, which gave us a lot of leeway and freedom to chart our own course. In '94, when I had joined, McCormick was already 4 years into the joint venture. There was just one division. It was the spice extraction division. So Sanjay met me for the first time almost a month after I had joined, and he hadn't seen me until then. So we got talking, and Sanjay was also rather young at that point of time, very young. And we shared a common passion about cars and all that. So we got talking and we got a liking to that. And 6 months into my job, Sanjay tells me, Geemon, we have been doing the spice business for quite some time. You know, the spice extraction business, and we have VKL at Alapi, which is Sanjay's brother Ajay was running it. I said, is there something else that we can do which is adjacent to the spice business, which means something to do with commodities, agro-commodities? Could you actually look at it and come back with a business plan kind of a thing? So, you know, you are quite young and you are eager to do something, and you're here, you have, you know, you're given a fantastic opportunity to do something of your own. So it's like a startup and you're very excited, but you don't know what to do. So, you know, there was only Indian Airlines at that point of time, rather expensive. So I took the train from, and again, this was in November or December. Took the train to Delhi. From Delhi, I go to UP by train, because I didn't know any other way to do that. And Delhi to Bareilly is about 250 kilometers. The train journey took about 10 hours. That's how advanced our you know, our railway systems and everything was there at that point of time. But once you went there, I started the Mint was just becoming a small part of Indian industry at that point of time. And today it's our second largest division. So we set up a factory in 2004. We had operations going on from 2000 onwards. So it became a major activity. And as it grew, we also grew into other businesses. So we started the nutraceutical business, and as you know, Nutra business became Omni Actives, and that's hived off as a separate company. So in all this, what happened was, individuals who were handling those businesses also grew with the company. They were given the responsibility of, they were given the ownership. It was almost like an entrepreneur running that particular division. Even today at Cancor, what we have is, we have several verticals. And I don't look into the daily business at all. Every vertical has a business head. He runs it like an entrepreneur. He's responsible for the P&L. He's responsible for his people. He's responsible for the future roadmap of that particular division. We provide the resources. That is how this organization has become what it is. Today it's close to 1,000 crores and soon it will be even bigger. And the first customer that I got in when I did the mint business was Man. Man was never a customer till then. And that is a relationship that grew and grew to the extent that Man was then, the moment Man came to know that Kancor was looking for strategic partnership, Mr. Man literally waylaid me on the lobby of his office when I had actually gone to meet the purchaser. He said, Geemon, I want to have a word with you. And he called me into his room and said, I hear that Kancor is looking for strategic partners. I said, yes, Mr. Man, we are in talk with Wild of Germany. He said, can you put a stop to that conversation, because I want to meet your boss and I'm interested in taking a stake in Kancor. And I was very happy because, Man is a customer which I developed. It's entirely my baby. So, that relationship grew to what it is today. And today Man is 100% owns Kancor.
I think here again, see, look at the way things have evolved. I mean, the first customer in G's life turns to be the owner of the company now, and such a satisfying thing, in terms of, again, two things. We all complain about employee turnover. I think G made a very valid point. If the aspirations of the employee, the manager runs at a faster pace than what the company can give, that leads to kind of a turnover. But at the same time, I remember chatting with Sanjay again. He used to say that which we all have heard, the concept of intrapreneur, an entrepreneur within the organization. And the example what he told about Mint, the essential oils vertical which Kancor developed, is basically because of that one aspect of intrapreneurship. And the leader gives the person the authority and the freedom to work. There is a study done, 75% of the people leave because of the boss. And many of you sitting here are bosses. So just look at people who have left. I mean, I hope 75% is not correct. So it's a fact. I have seen this happening now. I'm an advisor. So I know that many of the people leave not because of anything else, because of the boss. Because boss has to give. Now the boss, the word also is becoming redundant with youngsters sitting around. It's basically a coach and a mentor. The people look at him for that kind of development. So basically now you have an answer how G has stuck on to 30 years. I mean, it's the fantastic thing in terms of, because he had the satisfaction, he had the challenges, and I'm sure he continues to be a challenger even in the today's atmosphere of 100% foreign ownership. G, one thing in this period of 30 years, can you tell us the biggest challenge you faced, either during Sanjay Mariwala's time or during Man's time, the biggest challenge you faced and how did you overcome that?
There have been several challenges, but if you ask me for a biggest challenge, during Sanjay's phase, it is a different challenge. At Man, when we got into this joint venture, it was a different challenge. In the case of the earlier management with Sanjay and the family, Mariwala family running it, it was always a question of resource allocation, because there you are actually fighting for resource from a common pool. So Sanjay had Kancor and Sanjay had OmniActives. Now OmniActives was originally the botanical extracts division of Kancor, and the original plan was, because the spice business and the spice extraction business is very challenging in terms of competitiveness and therefore margins. The idea was to get into the Nutra business. But once we got into the Nutra business, and Nutra business, for example, the spice industry operates in a 25% gross margin, and EBITDA is slightly lesser, whereas the Nutra industry operates at 50-60% gross margins and all that. So when you look at it that way, our idea was that we actually bringing strength even to the other legacy business. But what happened was, and that is a conflict I had with Sanjay actually, that when this became a good business, Sanjay took it off as a different business altogether. Took it off as OmniActives. didn't keep it at Kancor. So what happened was Cancor's resources was stretched to the extent that it was used for OmniActives, but we didn't get the fruits of that. So that was a struggle. And therefore, when I went back to Sanjay saying that, what has happened, and that's a family business. I can't question it. There's no board or anything like that. It's Sanjay's decision. So that was a very difficult time for me because I'm part of the process, but you don't see the returns coming out of it. So I asked Sanjay, look, we need resources here. Otherwise, we are going to struggle because we are not able to pay our vendors and all of that. Because I can't blame Sanjay, because if I have a business that pays me 25% margin vis-a-vis a business that pays 60% margin, I'm going to put my investment in a business that pays 60% margin, not on the 25%. Not appreciating the fact that the money came from here, it doesn't matter. Because as an entrepreneur from a bigger perspective, what he did is right. But then the other business suffers. So I went to Sanjay saying that if you're not going to bring in money, we'll have to figure out ways of how we can get other investors. And that's when he said, okay, go and find investors. Thankfully for us, after a couple of years, but during that time there was a huge struggle, for resources and everything. But thankfully Man came in, and Man quickly took 100% of the stake, and Sanjay was willing to let go. And as you rightly mentioned, he was not very emotionally attached to the business, so he could actually let go of it, which actually has stood us in good stead, because in the 8 years, Kancor has grown 3 times the size.
That's after Man took over? Okay.
After Man took over.
So when you got the resources in place, the growth
everything else was in place. It was just that resource that was required.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And this question, I don't know whether I should address it to you or to your life partner, Rachel. See, I know him at close circles. One of the key strengths I have seen in him is time management. I'm not connected with his business except we share something in CI or All India Spices Exporters Forum or in TiE. The moment you send a mail or a WhatsApp message, you get sharp replies, definitely within not even 24 hours, but faster than that. So how do you manage time? Because, okay, you told one thing, that I don't look at day-to-day aspects of the running of the company. You've got different verticals, different SBUs, and there are qualified senior professionals managing that. But still throw some light, or we should ask Rachel to throw some light in terms of, or if you really ask her to tell something, she may tell the truth out that she hardly gets any time from G. Anyway, I think, jokes about how do you manage time?
First thing is that you build a good team, MSA. Once you have a good team and you have trust on that team, there is one part of that business which you can completely take off your mind, because you know it is in good hands. You don't have to worry about that. I don't lose sleep over it. If there is a issue at any point of time, I'm available 24/7, the team knows it. They come back to me, solution is provided, we discuss it out, collectively we agree on something, and that is done. There are no two ways about it. So that is something which we have actually brought in as an organizational culture at Man Kancor. And this has actually happened, it's evolved over a period of time. Now, when I took over as a CEO in 2006, we were still struggling. And we didn't have these verticals, we didn't have clear profit centers and all that. But over a period of time, we were able to do that. And today that is paying off. So my mind is taken off day-to-day businesses. It's more into strategy. It's more into resource management, getting board approvals, looking at the larger next 5 years or 10 years, what is it that we must invest in. At the same time, you know exactly how the markets are, but you need to keep in touch. Only then you can actually guide your team right as well. So that is done. And in terms of time management, I've always, people actually accuse me of responding too fast.
That is true. That's very much true.
Yeah. So that I've always been accused of. So it's either that or you're too slow. So I would rather be fast and mistaken, rather being too slow by when something has not happened or something has happened. So
I think this again, build a team. I know it's easily said than done. That needs a lot of ground level efforts and picking up the right talent and developing the talent. empowering them. And the two words he used is build a team and have trust in them. See, many of us start, okay, we build a team, but at a certain stage you feel one mistake he or she commits, you lose trust. Episodial behavior, we call it in psychology. One episode is good enough to tell, oh, that fellow is useless, and throw him out, because you are the powers, you are the MD or CEO or the owner of the business. But one thing which he told is about building the team, having the trust. And the most important thing he mentioned is to amplify what you mentioned, G. When a person comes with a problem, giving a solution to him becomes very critical. See, nobody respects you for the chair you are sitting as an MD or CEO or chairman or whatever you call. But are you able to solve his problem? Can you give your shoulder for him to sort of more effectively work in the organization is what definitely creates. But that's fine. But time management is something, because you are quite a bit hands off from what you're doing. And incidentally, he did his PhD also at the same time when, I think, COVID times. Okay. I guessed it. I think it was COVID times. See, that's another thing. Many people have sat at home like me, saying that COVID now, what to do? This fellow went and got a PhD in agricultural economics, which is again making use of an opportunity. And, so that's also brilliant. Yeah, I think, Anisha, how are we doing on time? We open up for questions.
No, you have more time.
I have more questions, but if you give the mic to me, that's a problem.
No, we have time.
We have time. Okay, G, that's another thing. He is invested in many startups. He is a very active person of Kerala Angel Network. In fact, one of the facilities which he has invested, I forget the name of the company. When I got my car, I got what's the company's name?
Serious.
Huh?
Serious.
So that ceramic thing and all, and so when I went there, first I didn't know that this belongs to G. I just walked in there and wanted to have a ceramic coating for my car, and then I realized over a period of time this is this guy's company, and then I could see the professionalism, the way it is managed, the systems they have. So can you throw some light in terms of, since there are quite a few startups here, how do you select a startup to invest? What is the criteria you look at? And, how do we go about doing it?
That's not an easy question to answer. But fundamentally, when you actually, again, I don't know if this works for everybody, MSA, but for me, I actually go a lot with the people. Actually, the first point of contact, it's not about the skill that they may have or the knowledge that they may have, but it's more to do with the passion that they will have and the attitude. If they have the passion and attitude, then you can develop the skill, you can bring in the team to support where they don't have the strengths, and you can build on it. When you spoke about Sirius, it's actually one of my pet projects because automobiles has always been my passion.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted to do something on that. And this was, I found two youngsters who are very passionate about it. And
no doubt.
And they wanted to do something. I said, okay, let's do this. And it's just celebrated 1 year yesterday. And it's
doing well?
It is doing well, thanks to your patronage as well.
No. I got one in my one car there. No, I could see a lot of traffic there, and yeah, go ahead.
So, and you have to do something which is different from what others are doing. You can't simply be doing the same thing. There are a lot of other people who are doing detailing and other work here, but we wanted to make a difference, and I believe that difference is showing in the way we handle customers, in the way we educate customers, what is right for them and what is not right for them. Sometimes people come and say, I want to do full PPF for my car. That will cost, sir, it's going to cost you 1.8 lakhs. Yes, I want it. And we tell him, you don't need it. Okay, because you are not somebody who actually drives the car every day on the highway. So why do you need a PPF? Why don't we do graphene and why don't we do only the essential parts? And that's only going to cost you 70,000 rupees. Now, if I were purely looking at profits, I would have done that one point. But I've told my boys, that's not the way we should do business. We are here because we love automobiles. And we need to show that to the customer, that we understand what will actually work for them. That is critical. And this is not just in automobiles, but in any business that we do. And I believe here there are a few others also where I've actually invested. The idea is that if you know whom you are investing, you are actually investing in the people, MSA. You are not actually investing in the business. Business comes next. But if the people are good, if the people are committed, they will not let you down. And if they let you down, it's also that you have let them down. That's the way it is. Because if nobody is good in everything that they do, there are going to be weaknesses. So how do you support? First of all, you need to identify what those weaknesses are in them, in that, and augment it with a different set of team members coming into it, so that those gaps are filled. That makes a very strong team. And then, of course, you have reasonable experience to guide them and tell them, okay, this you can do, this you shouldn't do, maybe this will work better. You don't have all the answers, but you may have at least a better sense of direction than a startup who's just finding the baby steps.
These two are small, 23, 24-year-old kids. And I still remember, I don't remember the word, but this PPF, they told the same price for my car, 1.8 lakhs for just putting a coating. So I told him, yeah, I can't afford this. Then they came out with this essential PPF, which is 75, and that's where, you put it in the handle where frequent or in the bond, this thing, and, very, very nice, way of doing it. So now I will open the floor for Q&A. You have heard G talking about his journey, how he spent his time in Kancor and a lot of key learnings. Now it's open to the audience to ask interactive questions.
I'd like to go first.
Yeah, please. You want the mic? I think you're audible.
I found his personality very unique. So here is somebody, over the the last 2 years when we've known each other and chatted a lot, here is somebody who's, yes, grown the business to we're talking of massive growth, up to 1,000 crore plus turnover. And he's obsessed with cars. He knows everything about cars. I got a long lecture on cars. And then he goes and does his PhD, and that too in pepper. Okay. So it's from a personality trait point of view, I found this personality so unique. I said, he said what makes him really tick is cars. So I said what makes me tick is people, getting to know people and what makes them tick. So what I want to hear from you is, what is your management style, Geemon? What makes you do all that you do? And in the midst of all these associations that you head, you went and did a PhD, that too on pepper. So, and then I had to ask him, why pepper? Of all the spices, why would you choose pepper? So I found your personality very unique. What makes you tick? What is your management style? What gets you to do all this?
So many questions in that.
So many questions. I'm sorry.
You said one question and thank you. Anyway, I'll try and answer. Honestly, I don't have one specific management style, Anisha. It all depends on who is sitting with me on the other side of the table or on this side of the table. So if I am speaking to a 23, 24-year-old in terms of how I should mentor them, it's a completely different style. Whereas when I'm speaking to some of my colleagues here, I see some of them sitting here, it's a completely different way of approach and conversation I have with them. In fact, in this room, there is a person who has actually had nothing to do with our industry. He had just come from Africa. His wife calls me, and wife used to work at Kancor many years back. She calls me saying that we are back now in India. I don't know if there is an opportunity from my husband. Would you please have a look at him? I just spoke to him. I said, come on board. And he is today heading a business in Kancor. 2 years from now, it's now making profits. I am so happy for her to reach out to me at that point of time, because she found me a good person. And that person is now contributing to the organization in whom I have placed my trust, that you will run this vertical. And he is doing it. He had absolutely no clue about this business at all. He didn't know a spice from a shoe, to be very honest. And that's my management style. I trust people. I look at them, I trust them, I work with them, and I see strengths And I know that maybe something else, if you add, this guy will be successful.
You tend to pick the winners.
Not always. I made my mistakes as well.
No, one thing he mentioned that depends on the person sits opposite to him on the side of him. That is something which many of us don't practice in our lives. We have one standard leadership style. Either too pleasing or too shouting. We all know the management principle of situational leadership. You lead based on, you interact based on the person with whom you are talking. So that situational leadership is something which really make leaders to stand out. And if you practice that like what G has done in his life, along with the trust, nothing stops. Because all 5 fingers are not same. You can't treat all the 5 people the same style. I've seen managers, I am a CEO, coach and a mentor, part advising families, same style, independent of the person who has done a great job or who's doing a third-rate job. The treatment is the same, doesn't make a difference. Okay, any other questions?
I'm sitting in front of you. I'm really feeling a calmness, and I have 2 questions. One is, do you meditate? You used to practice meditation? Because I used to meet many people in the business community, but I never found such a calm face, and everything in that calmness is happening. And another thing is that, and I'm into the brand management, brand protection side. I'm really wondering, how do you manage the brand, management system, the protection style in the Kancor and other areas of business? These are the 2 questions.
I don't know the spelling of meditation. Honestly, I've never done that. I'm not patient enough to meditate, honestly. Although I do wish I did have that patience. I wasn't like this. You probably have seen me in the last 5 years or 7 years. Thank God you haven't seen me 20 years back. Because you would have had a completely different idea about me. So I've actually learned to hide my emotions, not control it, hide it. So maybe I'm smiling, but I don't know whether you probably don't see what is actually going on inside. So I've become a better actor over the years. Honestly, we are all actors here. We are all actors. We put on a face depending on what the situation is. And that's what makes us who we are, how good an actor we are. But there is genuineness in what we do. And that eventually will show. As far as brand management is concerned, honestly speaking, we are in the B2B business. The brand management and the brand perception actually started only over the last 10 years. Before that, we weren't really doing anything. In fact, in the state today, Kancor is not as big a name as you would hear of many other companies that are operating at a much smaller scale in India, in Kerala. So that way we have been always under the radar, very understated. There are plus and minuses for that. Because if it's always too positive, then you will have people coming in for favors, which now people have started coming in more for favors now that your name is out there and Kancor is more well known than before. So there are pluses and minuses. If you're on the consumer side of it, if you're in a B2C business, then of course you have to build that brand to a far higher extent. I believe that we haven't done it as well as we should have, but we will get there.
When you asked that question, I was looking at his wife. How calm and cool you are. And she had a mighty laugh. What this guy is asking, such a funny question. You didn't know the wife was sitting there. But he answered it genuinely because, see, I think in one of the CI or TiE conference, somebody asked, how do you have the work-life balance? And the answer was that it's not work-life balance these days, it's a work-life integration. Because earlier we had, before the digitalization and the technology coming in, the work was separate from the life. But today it's a work-life integration. How do you manage it together? So your question was very valid, but I think the person sitting next to you had a mighty laugh. Something has gone off his very head to ask this silly question. Okay. Anandmani, you have a question.
No, just to compliment regarding the time management and what he does. Hardly 1 year earlier, I had invited him to Calicut to address my management convention. He drove from Calicut right in the morning, reached there at 9 o'clock. His session was at 10 and between 10 to 11. After the talk, drove back to Cochin, caught the flight and flew to France. That is the way how he manages time. It's a big appreciation what you should have.
That I will definitely vouch for that because
I just want to compliment for that.
Yeah, I once went with him to some place in his car. He would have taken 2 hours from here to Calicut.
Should be. I don't know how it does. I
Such
asked him
a-
whether he
such
coming
a-
day for earlier.
No,
No,
he-
I'll come tomorrow morning. No,
Morning,
nothing.
that's good enough because
No
then
issue.
he doesn't get tired.
So
I
my
mean-
2 questions are you seeing more challenges in your field? And if so, what all are they? And how do you wish to reorient that thing without losing the efficiency what you are having? And the second question is the best again yet to come from Geemon? Hearing all your story. These are the 2 questions.
The first question in terms of industry challenges, yes. And that is another thing that we have done and I have done personally as well. You need to keep moving your goalpost. What was good 20 years back is not good today. You're finished, if that is the thought process. Because when Sanjay first called me into his room and said, can we do something adjacent to what currently we are doing and grow the business into something else, that set a chain of events. For the first time, we went into essential oil business, we went into mid business, we went into Nutra business, we went into natural antioxidants, we went into natural colors, we also went into botanical extracts, botanicals, all of this. And the reason for that is, you stay at one place, you are dead. You're finished. You have to evolve, you have to change with the times. And you also should know that at the pace at which technology is moving, the new startups that come are going to reach where you are today. After 25 years, they're going to probably reach in 5 years' time. And that is a given, that is definite. So you need to move to the next 5 years and you need to be one step above the other at each point of time so that you are never allowed to be overtaken. That is a must, and for that you need to have your strategy, you need to have your people, you need to have your infrastructure all in place for the next 20 years. That's what we are doing today, and that is what is absolutely essential for any business. That don't look at what you are doing today, look at what you want to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, because don't ever think that the guy who is sitting next to you is going to be just sitting there. He is also running the same race. Are you going to be faster than him? And are you going to be different? Or are you going to be in a place where you actually dictate the terms and you set the benchmarks? That is important. And where you have the potential to do that, do that. One place in 10 years, if you can actually create a significant difference, that is good enough to take you for the next 10 years while you build the story for the following process. So that is the first part of it. The best in me is of course yet to come. Absolutely. And I don't say this with arrogance. I say it with absolute humility, because I was reading a very important article this morning, and it said very clearly that your brain up to the age of 60 is working, you have 2 sides to the brain. It works one side, but after the age of 60, you have so much of knowledge and wisdom that you actually connect both sides of the brain, work together, and your best phase when your brain is at its best is between the age of 70 to 80. So everybody sitting here, you have to remember all your best is yet to come. It's not just me. And this is scientifically proven.
I think thrilled is a very mild word, Vivek. Very, very, very satisfying, because I crossed 70 this year. You're saying 70 to 80 are the best years if you continue to be alive and kicking. That's interesting. So anyway, I think one of the things he mentioned about, there's a famous book by world-renowned coach, CEO coach, Marshall Goldsmith. What got you here won't get you there. I think that's the essence of what you told. Like, if you become complacent, if you get into your so-called comfort zone, you stay put, because other guy sitting next to you will not be in his comfort zone. He will be moving at a much faster clip. So Anand Mani's question that, what are the challenges is basically to be ahead of time. Yeah, I think few more questions from the audience.
Thank you so much for a very insightful discussion. It's absolutely fascinating to listen to you. Definitely talking to you and listening to you all this time, one thing is that it's very inspirational to know you. First of all is that you have the most inspiring garage. I wish I can also drive a different sports car every day. But another thing that is very inspiring about you is your very long career, that too at one single institution. So you were discussing your journey in Kancor for almost 30 years now. And you were also saying that today a lot of people are not able to really align their personal aspirations along with the aspirations of the company. Now, in today's day and age, we live in a time when society and popular culture is really tuned to tackle each and everyone's patience. I mean, movies are expected to be less than 2 hours. Your groceries should reach you in less than 15 minutes. Your Uber should reach you in less than 5. So generally itself, people don't have patience. So what advice can you give to someone, a young professional, to imbibe that sort of patience such that they are able to align their personal aspirations to that of the organization?
When I was 23 years old, sitting in that terrace by the backwaters in Cancor's office by Mr. Venkat Iyer, and he asked me, Geemon, what do you want to become in life? And you have to remember, I just quit my job, not really knowing what to do, and still figuring out whether it's going to be a job or whether I'm going to go back to Chennai and pick up my dad's business and run with it. So I was and he asked me this question, and all I told him was, I want to be the best in what I do. Can you all set a goal like that? Can you be the best in what you do? When you say that, that's a commitment to yourself. Because your competition is yourself, nobody else. Nobody else is your competition. Can you be a better version of you tomorrow than what you are today? Anisha asked me the question that, why pepper? Why did you go and do pepper? And why a PhD? Two stories there. One is, when we all pass out of 12th standard, all that your parents want is, one son has to be a doctor, one son has to be an engineer. That's all there was, when we passed out. Nothing else, because those days there was no other career. So my brother went on to become an engineer. So I told my dad, rather seriously, semi-seriously, that one day I will be a doctor. Okay, but I forgot about it. For 30 years, or 26 years I forgot about it. And then I remembered, maybe I should try it now, because I have this experience, and pepper is something which we know is extremely challenging in our industry. Nobody ever is able to predict that pricing correctly. And that's something which we have worked for the last 25 years. I worked on it. I know there is data available. So why not do that? But where am I going to find the time? So again, the question is, and we all know that where there is a will, there is a way. And that's when COVID happened. If COVID had not happened, I would not have finished my PhD. Because I'm traveling all over the world all the time with not a moment's time for these kind of research activities. But 2 years sitting at home, I didn't predict that was going to happen. But again, the question is, if you put your mind to it, the world will conspire to make it happen. Paulo Coelho said that. It will happen. I'll give you another very interesting example. When I was about 7 or 8 years old, I was in Chennai, lived in a place at Tainampet, and Tainampet is very close to Venus Colony and behind Chola Hotel. It's a very, very, very posh place, and all the big guys of Chennai live there. So evenings we play cricket, we walk around, and there is this little black BMW car there. Beautiful black 3 Series coupe sitting there. This is, early 80s. And looking at that car and saying, one day I will have that car. And I have that car in my garage today. So this is what life is all about. That if you really, really want something, you can make it happen. Because you have to work towards making it happen. Don't give up on your dreams. and change yourself, reinvent yourself. Every 5 years, you need to develop a new set of skills. Otherwise, you are redundant. And be very sure that you have to make yourself completely redundant in 5 years' time to a different role. Otherwise, you are not letting the people below you grow. Only last month, I actually relinquished my absolute business role at Kancor. On my own, I told my team, I am stepping back. X is going to take over. He is going to run the business. I am going to look into other roles of strategy, M&As and all that. Nobody asked me to do this because I realized if I don't do that, I'm not letting somebody else move up. This is where you also have to recognize you have a responsibility to your team and your people. That is absolutely essential. And then you take a role and you create a new role for yourself. This is important. And again, don't give up on your dreams, work towards it. You will make it happen.
I think fantastic. One thing we always say is that in terms of competencies, the field you are chosen, you can't be a master of everything. You should be the go-to person. If there's a landscape architect in the town, you should be the best in that and you become the go-to person. So you talked about patience. I think I have a son and daughter who are pretty grown up. To teach them patience, I think there are two things in life. One is a problem to solve, another is a condition to live with. Lack of patience among youngsters is a condition to live with. You can't. Because that's the way they are. I mean, you can't. See, as a father, I think, oh my God, my daughter, I'll just tell you, last week she was here and we went to take money from the ATM. There was one guy inside and two guys waiting. He said, Dad, let's go to the next ATM where it is. I told, what's the problem? No, why you should wait? Impatience to the core. Then finally I have to say, at least with my daughter, if not with my wife. So I told her, look, on the way back in the car, I told, look, how I used to, in your age, I used to get money from the bank. How much time it used to take. But these youngsters are not used to it. So that's why I say it's a condition to live with rather than a problem to solve. Be go-to person in the field you're chosen, like what he mentioned. And learning, see, last 2 weeks back, I was in Indian School of Business for a course on family business. Got a lot of new things to learn from there. I mean, in terms of what, there was an interesting thing about Rahul Bajaj, his son, remembering Rahul Bajaj. Sanjeev was there, Sanjeev Bajaj, and one thing he told very interesting, I still stuck in my mind. When they were small children, Rajiv and Sanjeev, their mother used to give a kanji, namada padaya, gruel, made of some millets, and he was telling that was the absolutely tasteless thing I have taken in my life. And so the mother used to push both the children to drink that kanji. And once she told him, see, if you people don't consume this, you can't step into your father's shoes. So Rahul Bajaj was sitting in the living room. He came rushing to the dining table. Because they take this kanji or the gruel, they will not step into my shoes unless they are educated, competent, and have the caliber to step into my shoes. So basically, when this struck in terms of succession planning in family businesses, and you nip it in the bud in terms of entitlement. It should be more of meritocracy coming into that. So you have to be the specialist in the field what you select, but impatience with the youngsters, learn to live with it. I think any suggestions, I think Anisha and Nisha and all, you have experience of handling these youngsters. I mean, they're very impatient.
Biggest challenge is focus.
Biggest challenge is focus, because this stuff, which is lying on the table, which is 79th part of your body, the 78 body parts, the 79th is your mobile. So you can't move without that, and you keep on looking at it every time. Very impatient with that also.
You know the story of Kancor, and you also know VKL. So as long as there was VKL, Kancor couldn't do spices.
I guess as much.
Yeah, so that's it. Why now? The question is also being asked by our customers, why haven't you done it yet? Because they currently buy the extracts from us and they know what our systems are. We are already an approved vendor. All that they want is, guys, please start the spice business, because we want you there. We know you are a reliable supplier. We have had several problems. Of course, there is always this backward integration work that we are doing, and all of that falls into place. But they are now looking for continuity in their. So this is one part of the business which we had always left out in the whole value chain. We are doing the work with the farmers, we are doing the extraction, we are doing the isolation, we are doing the Nutra and all of that. But the spice part, that particular blank, we have just filled it. That's all there is to it, Ravi. There's nothing else. But we also see that there are significantly good opportunities in our existing customers, and with MAN also coming on board. We have the global multinationals, the Nestle's, the Kraft, all of them, Mars. They're all part of our vendor list, customer list anyway. And they all are now looking for back to basics. So they want the spices to come into the basket. So that is being driven by the customers as well.
Thank you.
Before that, can you, Ajay, it has been a very fascinating journey. Tell us as a last point, for keeping in mind the diverse audience, the mixed audience, what are the 3 do's and 3 don'ts which you would recommend to all of us, including this 70-year-old man? Please send that article. Don't forget, I want to read that. Please. You have it. Okay, I would like to, maybe we can read it, because I don't think anybody else in this audience is close to my age.
3 do's and 3 don'ts. Okay, I'll have to go back to a small story. I'm sitting in my office one day, and my father never calls me. Okay, he never calls me on the phone unless it is something very important related to some cars. Because he is my mentor, my guru. Oh, he built his own car. He's at a different level. So I got his passion. I am only his student. Okay, so, and he is the other generation where they used to make their own cars and build their own bikes and all that. So he calls me one day. So I think, I thought it is something to do with one of the cars and all that. So we were, at that point of time, we were supercharging one of my cars, and he was putting together some diagrams and all that. So he calls me and says, Geemon, John is sitting with me. He needs a job at Kancor. Like, Papa, what are you saying? He says, I know who John is. I'm not going to tell John his actual name, so therefore I won't tell the name of the company he works with. It's a very big company, IT company. And he says, John is having problems with his boss, and John is going through a very bad... He's telling this to me on the phone while John is sitting right next to him. He says, John is going through a bad time with his wife's cancer, so you have to get him a job. And I'm dumbfounded because my dad has never ever done that. And to an extent, I'm actually pissed. Because John is sitting right next to him and he's doing this to me. So I'm actually losing it. I said, Papa, can we speak on, once I'm back home? He says, yeah, okay, but remember I told you this, you have to get it done. It's like a diktat. And everybody sitting here knows that I can't get John a job in Kancor just like that. Okay, my dad also knows that. My dad knows that. So I am thinking, why is dad doing this? So I go back home very angry at 7:30. Papa is sitting in his lounge chair and I go straight to him. I normally don't do that. I go straight to him and I said, Papa, what did you do here? What have you done? You know I can't do this. He says, you sit. So I sit. He says, you may be able to get him a job. You may not be able to get him a job. But what was important at that point of time was to give John hope. That's all he said. And I sat there, dumbfounded. I had nothing to tell Dad. So he said, if you don't have anything to give to a person who has nothing, give him hope. So that is one of the first things I would tell, that what do you want to do? Give hope to somebody who is actually seeking it. Because many months later, John's come out of his issues, his wife is recovered and all that. My dad passes. So John comes and tells me, if not for your dad, I would not be standing here. I was on the verge of committing suicide. But that call with you brought me back to life. That is the power of hope. I'll never forget that. What else can you think of? What else can you do? And the other thing which I would want to do, which I already said, is keep changing yourself, reinvent yourself. Don't be stagnant. You have to change yourself. You cannot be the same person today and tomorrow. You have to be a better version. You have to work at it consciously, because otherwise you are redundant forever. You have to learn new skill sets. You have to build your direction has to be clear. So that is something again you need to focus on. And third and most important thing, and which I will ask everybody here, is what is the most important thing in your life? I just want to hear some people answer that. What is the single most important thing in your life? If anybody can volunteer an answer for that. Food, okay.
Happiness. Somebody is feeling hungry.
Happiness, okay. Family, okay.
Peace of mind.
Peace of mind, okay.
Progress.
Progress, okay. None of this is wrong. But the most important thing in your life is you. Can you dispute that? The most important thing in your life is you. How many of you have thought of it? You think food, you think progress, you think happiness, peace of mind, everything is important. But have you thought of how important you are to you? Don't forget that. So think about your own well-being. Because if you are well, if you are good, you can also make others happy and good and well. Or, you can bring peace, you can bring happiness, you can bring peace of mind, you can eat as much food as you want. All of that. But the most important thing in your life is you. Don't forget that. So these are the three things I would think of as do's. In terms of don'ts, forgive, but don't forget. Please forgive, but don't forget. Because these are life experiences which you should never repeat. Okay, we all say that, as you go in business and as you go in life, you will all make mistakes, and these mistakes are your experiences which will stand you in good stead. That's correct. But don't repeat the same mistake twice, and don't forget the person who wronged you. Because if somebody has wronged you, that person is made up with that mindset. He will come back again. You can forgive, but never forget who did that to you. And be wary. So that is something which you should always be aware of. What else in terms of don'ts? Can't think of too many don'ts.
He doesn't have that experience of doing the wrong things.
Not
That's
really.
fine, I think that's fine. I think we will close the session. Before I hand it over to our President Anisha, thanks Geemon on behalf of TiE Kerala as well as myself. Has been very, I also learned, though we know each other for 30 years, I also learned a lot. But one thing which stands out in G is like what I recall when I was 22-year-old boy who walked into Sandoz house as a management trainee. We had Vice President of the Agrochemical Division at that time. I still remember Dr. V.S. Sohani, and he was addressing some 10-12 MTs, management trainees. I still recall certain things you get into your memory hook, and one thing you told, okay, you are all youngsters, 21, 22, 23. You all will achieve success in your life, but don't allow that success to go to your head. That is that is one quality which I have seen in Geemon in terms of exhibiting a high level of humility in terms of, whatever he has achieved, and with all humility only you told best is yet to come. And it was very reassuring me that 70 and 80, I'm going to tell my wife today that a lot of hope has come from interacting with G. It's true, because the best is yet to come. I retired at the age of 62, now 8 years of family business practice. Learning continuously goes on and on and on. And many of the things which today I learned from G also will help me in my family business practice as well. With these words, I would like to hand over to, 1 minute.
I must say thank you for anchoring this session. And before I leave, and I'll give the mic to Anisha, I had actually printed out a poem which I wanted to read out to all of you. And, everybody knows Rudyard Kipling. He gave us Jungle Book, and he gave us If, the poem. Rudyard Kipling is not one of my favorite poets for whatever he did in supporting General Dyer after the Jallianwala Bagh. But this poem actually stands in my mind, and this was actually first told to me by Homi Mullah. And I've never ever forgotten that, ever. And I'm going to read it out to all of you here. The poem is titled If. I don't know how many of you have read it, but I'll still read it out for you. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired of waiting, or being lied about and don't deal in lies, or being hated but don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with disaster and triumph and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you have spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken, and stoop and build them up with worn out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it in one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can walk with the crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with the kings, nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much, and if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything in it, and which is more, you will be a man, my son.
Thank MSA and MSA Kumar and Geemon for this wonderful, wonderful session. It was really deep. Thank you very much, Geemon, for this amazing support to the entrepreneurial ecosystem of Kerala. And thank you, MSA, for this fabulous moderation that happened. Thank you all. Thank you to the audience for your patience.